Have you ever heard of a stubby impact wrench? Yeah, we have two, but usually it's a different brand associated with it. Well, looks like Snap-on wants to get in the stubby impact wrench world. Today we've got the Snap-on CT9038 in a 3/8 drive. Well, it's the only drive they offered in is the 3/8. We wish we could get it in a 1/2 inch drive. But anyway, this little beast is supposed to go beyond 500 foot-pounds of breakaway torque. Let's dive in, take a closer look, and then put this thing on the test bench and see what we think. This is the brand new Snap-on CT9038. Well, I shouldn't say brand new, but it's been released in the last few months anyway. And this is what they're claiming is literally, they call it their stubby cordless impact wrench. So this is kind of their smallest on the 18-volt platform. So it runs on their 18-volt batteries, obviously. Brushless motor. It is their shortest impact wrench. You can only get this in a 3/8 drive, hence the 9038. You cannot get this in a 1/2 inch drive. I wish that you could. We would have gotten it that way. Max breakaway torque on this is supposed to be 525 foot-pounds. And looking at the fastening torque side of things, 275 foot-pounds of fastening torque. Now, one thing about the Snap-on is they offer 3 speeds in forward and 3 speeds in reverse, or 3 power modes in forward, 3 speeds in reverse. Also, the color indicators here, the LED lights, tell us if it's green, that means it's in reverse, or it's actually spinning counterclockwise, and that gives you the green icons. And you can push this little blister button here, and that will cycle between 1, 2, and 3 power or speed modes. All I have to do is slide the selector over here, right here, and slide it into reverse or actually into forward, and then you'll see the red light. So when we're tightening, that means we're in red, so we're tightening, and again, that's going to change from 1 to 2 to 3. Now, I will tell you right away, it's one thing that I wish Snap-on would change, is this little blister button right here. Kind of a pain to push. Most companies have gone away from that blister button and gone to a softer touch feel, if you will. It's not a big deal because you're not always cycling between the two, but you literally have to kind of take a finger and push really hard to get it to engage. So that's one thing I really am not crazy about. Another thing I'm not crazy about with Snap-on is the handle. It's a very square, very masculine looking handle, if you will. So I will give it that. It's kind of a solid look to it, but it's also just kind of a big, bulky, rectangle, if you will. At the same time, you're holding an impact wrench, right? You're trying to get lots of work done. So I'm not going to count off a lot as to that. But when you look at it, it just looks very utilitarian. But again, that's maybe what they're after. Now let's talk about the size of this. With the 18-volt 5.0 battery, which I think that's the only thing you can get it kitted with, it's right at 10 inches tall. I believe the length is somewhere around 5 inches. So from tip of the anvil to the back of the tool, yeah, it looks right at 5 inches. And then probably the widest part is down here at the base of the battery, which is right at 3 inches. So you got a little bit of a rake in the handle, but then a level head. So the rake is built into the handle, not into the head. So you do have a little push out beyond the battery, but not a whole bunch, especially with it being a stubby. You don't have a long nose to stick out here beyond that battery. So you're going to want to run a longer socket if you're running it on wheels or something like that, which we always have extensions and things like that. Although you do lose a little bit of torque when you start going to extensions and getting it out beyond the snout of the impact. Get an LED light right there below the anvil and the business end of the tool. Very bright. So I will give it that. Plenty of light there. So it is kind of broadcasting down below, not surrounding it, but again, at least it's providing some light for you. With the 5 amp hour battery, looking at 4 pounds, 7 ounces. So right at 4.5 pounds for the impact wrench with the battery. We get a variable speed trigger, so you can see no matter what speed we're in, I can make it go about as slow as I want to. And then I think I'm in speed 3 right there in Titan mode. And that should give us a max RPM of 2,000 RPM. Now in speed 1 should give us right at 1,000 RPM and high. And again, with the variable speed trigger, I can go about as slow as I want to. And then in speed 2, or in medium, that's 1,525 RPM. And then as far as impacts per minute, 2,000 in the low, 2,850 in speed 2, and then 3,150 impacts per minute in high speed. Also, something else they list is in speed 1 should be around 25% of torque, speed 2 about 50% of torque, and speed 3 obviously 100% of torque. And that doesn't matter whether you're in forward or reverse. Well, let's get this thing over there and get it to work and see what we think about it on the test bench. Okay, our testing is rather simple. We're going to take the Snap-on Impact Wrench, but before we do that, we're going to take our torque driving tool or our torque tool and torque these nuts down, and starting at 100 foot-pounds, and we're just going to jump in 100 foot-pound increments. So 100, 200, 300, 400, and then jump to these larger ones and go into 500, 600, and 700 foot-pounds. If we get through with that round, we'll come back and start at 800 foot-pounds. And we're going to do something a little different this time. Usually we start just kind of in power mode 3 and go from there. We're going to start in power mode 1 and see how far we go with 1, and then we'll jump to 2. If it can't break it free, we'll jump into power mode 2, and then 3, and find the finalized torque. But so many times, everyone wants to know how much will power mode 1 or speed 1 do, and how much will speed 2 do. And we usually don't test that because it's not scientific. It's not an exact number. But this time, we're going to at least give you some data on how much it will break free on 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so we've got everything torqued. We're starting at 100 foot-pounds. Again, we're going to start in power mode or speed mode 3, or in 1. I'm sorry, we're going to start in 1. And by the way, yes, I have an adapter on here because I do not have sockets that large in a 3/8 drive. So I have an adapter that's welded onto the socket. I don't know how to make it any better than that. I understand many of you are going to speak up and say, well, adapters rob torque, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But again, we don't have sockets with a 3/8 drive that are this large, especially getting into this one here. And we've got it welded, so there will be no movement. If so, it's going to break. I doubt that's going to happen. We've used it before. Anyway, let's start 100 foot-pounds, and now we're only in speed mode 1, so it may not even break it free. And this is a pretty simple test. We give it 10 seconds to break it free. If it starts breaking it free after 10 seconds or within that 10 seconds, we go ahead and give it that. If it doesn't start breaking it free, then we shut down the tool, and that's as far as it goes. Let's go. So yeah, it looks like it barely kind of broke free, 100 foot-pounds. So here goes 200. Again, we're in mode 1. So it looks like in mode 1 or speed mode 1, we got right about 200 foot-pounds, not quite 300 foot-pounds. I'm going to shift into 2. And we're going to go ahead and finish breaking that free because, you know, it's still the same tool. Okay, no movement there in mode 2. So in mode 1, we got 200 foot-pounds. In mode 2, we got 300 foot-pounds, but not 400 foot-pounds. And now we'll shift in to mode 3. Okay, so we took a little break there and put some markers here on this socket so we can see some movement if it's moving. And we did go ahead and shift into mode 3. And by the way, this is a full battery. As you can see here, we didn't show you that in the beginning, but it is a full battery. And then we'll start back here in mode 3 at 400 foot-pounds. Let's go. There we go. Well, it was moving at 10 seconds, and that's why we went ahead and let it finish. But let's go ahead and move to 600 foot-pounds. And we still have a full battery. And we're in mode 3. Okay, I'm not giving it that. With it struggling on that one, and that one, it's moved a touch after like say 18, 20 seconds. But it's really, really struggling. So I would say the number that Snap-on gives it at 525 foot-pounds is a good number at nut busting or breakaway torque. Now listen, all this matters as to, you know, size of the socket, size of the fastener, things like that. If we step down to these smaller fasteners, the max torque on these is supposed to be like 400 foot-pounds. So we can't take these smaller ones and torque them up to 600-700 foot-pounds or even 500. It will start galling the threads. Trust us, we've done that before. So we have to step up to these larger fasteners, which again, you're changing all the dynamics of measuring torque. So there's really not an exact number when it comes to impact wrenches. You can ask anybody that knows their stuff on that. And whether you're using a hydraulic method or you know, some weights and measures on how to measure it, it's still measuring the impacts and the torque coming off of an impact, very tough to do. So anyway, still a great job from an impact wrench of this size. And just to double check or confirm with you, watch this. So we haven't touched this nut since it wouldn't break free with this one. So I'm going to hit it again. So even 5-6 more seconds of impacting, it still didn't budge. I'm going to step up to their mid-torque. And you see how easy it broke that free. So it's not that this is a slouch. It's just when you start looking at impacting, it really matters the size of the weight inside it, the size of the spring, the load that it's putting on, the power from the brushless motor. But you see how easily this one broke it free and how that one struggled. So again, when we're going to size of fasteners, it matters. But even though this one wouldn't do it at all, you step up to its bigger brother and it will knock it free really quickly. Okay, so we think they hit their number pretty dead on the head as far as what we can figure, because we broke free 500 foot-pounds. It really struggled to do so, then would not break free 600 foot-pounds. Again, we could get into all sorts of science on why larger fasteners play a big role in what will and what won't, you know, break things free, and then even looking at weight sizes, counterweight sizes, how the dogs are set up, RPM. Anyway, we're not going to get into the science of breakaway torque or in torque period when it comes to impact wrenches, but we showed you on the same fastener that this would not even break free at 600 foot-pounds, and its bigger brother jumped right in and within, you know, half a second broke it free. So it really matters on size. So that's why when we show big numbers coming from things like a stubby impact wrench, that we say if you're breaking free, you know, wheel lugs or you're taking wheels off of vehicles, you really ought to go to a larger impact wrench. Now, will it do it? Yeah, probably, if everything's been torqued as it should and it hadn't gone through 3 winters in Wisconsin. If it has done that, then good luck with its biggest brother, if you will. So where this fits is most of your work under hood, right? Breaking free cylinder head bolts and exhaust manifolds and intake manifolds and pulleys and things like that. It's going to do great at. And then again, you're carrying around a 4.5-pound tool. And then when you need to, you can reach for that 6 or 8 pound or 10 pound big slug to knock things out when you need to. Now let's talk about pricing. This is $433. And by the way, we bought this with our own money. Well, it's always our own money. Anyway, $433 for tool only. No battery, no charger. If you want to step up to 2 batteries and a charger or the kit, you're looking at like $923. So $433 bare tool, $923 for the kit, and then you get a 2-year warranty with this. So we'll have a link in the description to the Snap-on store where we bought it from. We get nothing out of that, but if you want one, then jump into it, and you can get it in Ryobi yellow if you want to, or I'm sorry, high-vis yellow. Anyway, hey, by the way, there's a new stubby coming out in another brand, and we'll be comparing this to it very soon, so be sure to check that out as well. Hey, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok, and if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day. Keep smiling.